LIVENODING. In this episode, I want to share the creation of this geometry nodes Corncob. If you take a look at a cone, it's basically like a kind of like a cone shape with sometimes regular, sometimes irregular kind of a pattern of Voronoi, and it's very similar to Banksia, except this one is a little bit more random. Maybe I'll do this in the future. So the idea is the same. So let's take a look. We have two different versions, the purple one and the yellow one. Let's delete these two. Take a look at the small guy. Okay, so we have a few parameters here. So there's the distance. The first one, actually, the distance control how random or how regular the shape is. There is the depth control, vertices, of course, and side segment. Oh, this is like a kind of like a cone. There's a control over the radius, top and bottom. So you can make like a fat cone like this. There's probability. If you have like corn that's like this, already like been eaten by birds, maybe randomize the seed. The fill segment, this one is totally up to you. You can have it 1 or 2. Oh, this is actually for the top details. It's not particularly interesting, but it's there. And then the Squish Control, this is a node from HIGGSAS that I just used for the corn. And there's a switch here to switch between the yellow corn and the random color purple corn. Let's take a look at the shader very quickly. We have 3 different shader, the yellow one, and there's a random color corn, and the middle part. The shader is really simple, just like random. I'm using random per island just to randomize the color of the yellow. If I didn't do that, it's gonna look like this, maybe like a fresh corn. Let's reduce this probability of the deletions of the corn. Okay, so just a normal yellow corn. And yeah, I'm using random per island to randomize the saturation value. That's very easy. The other one, the purple one, it's very similar. Just using random per island and hue saturation value to randomize the color. Okay, and let's take a look at the geometry nodes itself. I think if we use EV, it's gonna look yellowish color. Okay. Geometry nodes. Okay, let's take a look at this. So we have the top part and the bottom part. Okay. It's just it's basically like a Voronoi. I mentioned it before. You start with a cone. So there are 2 cones, the one without fill and the other one with fill. The one with fill is for the middle part, the stem. And there's these 2 nodes from HIGGSAS just to add like a twisting and a stretching. This is something that you can add or not. You can actually get rid of this and you get a simpler version. So the cone, there's this merge by distance. The merge by distance will control how regular or irregular the corn is going to be. Okay, so if you just reduce the distance, we're gonna get very regular type of corn. It's a little bit twisted, but if you increase the distance of merge, you're gonna get like a Voronoi cell pattern. Just need to decide how it's gonna look. Okay, and then of course we use a dual mesh. So this one is creating triangulated pattern, and then dual mesh, the same thing happens. The bottom part have split edges, and that's to separate the extruded part. So the rest of them is just like extrude, scale, extrude, and then set shade and set material. It's very basic and simple, but still pretty interesting. Okay, the corn, you can play around with the shape of this, but basically it's like to maintain the shape of the Voronoi, just the base, while the corn itself, the extruded part. So it's kind of interesting looking shapes. It's very alienish. Okay, the bottom part, the corn part, is just extruded, scale, extrude. So this one give a little bit more control over the rounded shapes. This is also, I think, very similar to human teeth. The corn part, let's see, there's actually kind of a bit of details. The dent area that I haven't really thought about. Maybe I should have another extrude and scale to have a little bit more shapes to it. But the rest of them is just like okay, this is the switch for the material, and I just pipe them outside into group input. Okay, so we have our corn. Can duplicate this, switch the color, increase the depth, play around with the radius, maybe make it more fat, like squish it, increase the probability of the corn, render. So we have kind of like a basic shape of corn. It can be improved, but that's basically the main ideas behind the corncobs. Alright, so yeah, hopefully you find this useful. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.